There is the productivity, though, that I feel like sometimes can get in the way. Like, there is some, particularly writing comedy, like if I would come home and I would feel inspired to write, if, this is kind of like turning off the brain.
Yeah.
Bit for me. It's not like, let's have a couple of whiskeys and then we'll think of comedy. I'm kind of like, let's have a couple of whiskeys and fall asleep.
Right. Comedy's over. We did that part.
But it depends on the comics. I remember I'd be out with Jim Jeffries and I'd be like, oh, this guy's like writing at the bar. He'd be like telling a story and I could see him like picking up where the laughs were. And I was like, oh, this Jim writes
really?
drinking.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. I don't think he drinks.
He doesn't drink anymore. But but yeah, I picture you writing jokes at a computer, just like typing out. Like all your jokes feel like very organized.
I feel like I work 15 times harder. Like I do it the hardest way possible, which is I'll have an idea. Sometimes I'll improvise something on stage, but then I'll listen, kind of break it down, and then try and find angles around it, and then just chip away. Whereas occasionally something will come out fully formed or at 70%, but otherwise I feel like I'm just mining. I feel like I'm a coal miner.
You
know what I mean?
Where are you throwing stuff at the wall? Because every time I see you, even at like Gotham, I'm like, fuck, that's like polished. That's like perfectly well done.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, I don't see you bomb ever.
I don't
You're
really
doing
see you
new.
bomb.
Oh,
So
no.
how do you not bomb?
Well, there is, I mean, as you guys know, there's moments that feel like bombing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then there's the, the jokes you pull up to kind of right the ship.
Right.
But there is, there's, sometimes it's throwing out ideas, and I feel like I've also been doing it so long where I know what'll kind of work. But for me, I think I can play on the road. If I'm doing an hour 10 and I'm doing in front of a home crowd, right? It's a home game. I can play a little bit if, they know my point of view.
Right. That's true.
There's a certain trust there, and I would never, just go on a rant for too long. But like if I'm feeling some give and take, I'll go with it. But otherwise, I don't know. Some of it is, like everything's a metaphor for me. So like some of it is gathering seeds, because I also garden. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So it's gathering
You're like the
seeds.
ultimate dad.
Yeah, I am. And so like gathering seeds, but like some of them take longer to germinate. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Ain't that the truth?
And, like during those first 6 years, you're like, why isn't this working? I know this is funny.
Yes.
And now, like, I got to put it away.
Yeah.
Either I haven't learned how to develop it, or I haven't found the right angle on it.
Right.
Yes. It's like
Right.
beef jerky. You got to leave it for a while and then come back. But that's hard to do in the early years.
It's very hard.
Because you have no
to do it.
material.
But of all these all these like Word docs of like, I never fucking figured that one out. It's like they're like cold cases or something.
Yes.
Well, I have so many Word docs of the same joke over and over again. Where I'll be like, all right, I worked on that for like a month, and just changing a certain approach to it, and it doesn't make any difference. But then you'll be on the subway, and you're like, oh yeah,
I got it.
right?
Yeah.
It's the best feeling.
You get a gift.
Yes.
You have to kind of kill your ego because you're like, it's got to be this way. And then one day you let it go long enough that you kind of fall out of love with it. And then you can see it clearly.
Yeah.
Finally.
And then there's the touring, which provides kind of the purity of it. Like I just did shows in Vancouver because I have a lot of material on bourbon and whiskey. Not a lot, but like, and, when you do an international show, things might be slightly different, even though Canadians and Americans, obviously, there's a lot of overlap. But it's the shift of like Canadian whiskey is obviously a huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
There. And then you add in the tariffs and you add in all this. So it's this thing where I'm like, oh, I can't work on this chunk the way I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But that also provides, so instead of presenting the jokes as bourbon, I would present them as whiskey. And so and then that would lead me into like there's so much to learn also just on the topic of whiskey in general for me, just because I was such a late bloomer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, I remember you had a bit where you said you didn't drink.
Yeah.
I remember it's an old Gaffigan bit from like a Letterman set, and I remember you're like, I love the joke. You're like, it's hard to get a woman, to drink on a date. When you don't drink, you're like, I'll have a water, and the lady will have a shot of Jaeger. I love that bit.
Perfect liquor choice in that bit.
Yeah. So, no, it's weird.
Yeah, the mining. Do you ever have a thing where I feel like I'm bombing for weeks, and then one day you do your act, and you're like, oh, I have like 9 new minutes. It's because it was gradual. You weren't noticing how much
Mark is
progress you were making.
You're great at staying with bits, though. Like
I'll stay with a bit.
He'll stay with a bit. I'll be like, if it's not pulling its weight, I'll dump it and I'll look back in like a month or two with fresh eyes. But like, there's only so long you can give it if it's dragging down the whole set. It's like sports. It's like that. This guy's not pulling its weight.
Yeah,
down at the G League.
It's just the team isn't working in that order.
Yes,
that's what's so crazy. I shifted the order of my hour right now, and this joke that used to really it was a kind of a segue chunk, after I get done with a chunk, I kind of segue into another one, and it used to kill, and I moved this whole chunk back, and now it's kind of like,
interesting.
just because of when it arrives, and it adjusts things. So like moving, as you guys know, moving the order changes everything.
Huge.
I mean, I do think that at the beginning, it should be autobiographical a little. I mean, this is just what I know.
Out of the gate in an hour, you're saying?
I think it has to be a little. I mean, Seinfeld hates this stuff, but like I'm a very observational guy, right? But I believe that you have to be. You have to give some autobiographical, some intimacy. I have a larger theory. I believe that like because of reality shows, there is a certain price of entry that we live in such a voyeuristic and exhibitionist culture today versus say the 90s or the 80s. So if you look in the 80s or the 90s, Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock, people they knew their points of view, obviously very different, but but the Chris Rock of 2005 or 2015 or 2020, people need to know he has to do something
personal,
biographical.
Well, Tangerine is so different than like Never Scared. Like, Chris started mining this
the divorce.
The divorce stuff's the most interesting stuff in that hour to me.
Yeah,
too. Like I love
so,
that stuff.
And Seinfeld, it used to be like a joke about this, a joke about that, and now there is. And it varies on the autobiographical, but I think because of reality shows, there has to be a certain amount. I mean, by the way, it's like podcasts reveal, a lot of intimate details indirectly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like people that come to your shows, and by the way, here are the shows listed. Here's where Mark's going, and here's where Sam's going. That people are like, because they listen to this podcast, it'll inform their experience of watching the show.
Well, yeah, I get a million. You get these audience members like, when you talked about OCD, that hit home, and that's why I became a fan, and I told my friend with OCD. So, yeah, some people just want. I used to think like the relatable stuff was what people wanted. Oh, I know what it's like to fiddle with shoelaces. Oh, that guy's my guy now. But I think it is the you talked about growing up in the South. I'm from the South. Yeah. That feels like it's what grabs people, the family stuff. Yeah. Like when Louis started talking about his baby that he hated, I think that's when he blew up.
Yeah. No, I think there is. It's weird. It's weird because I believe that some of it is there is the emotion, but I'm also a big believer in substance. It has to be substance. Obviously, you guys are both substance guys.
But what does that mean, substance?
That means where it's also kind of
has to mean something.
Style versus substance. Now, it used to be like Stephen Wright is absolute. He's so substance. That's his style.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
So, an example of someone whose style is they do an hour, the crowd's killing, but if you ask the crowd, tell me one of his or her jokes, they'd be like, or if the substance is the joke, it's the
Got it.
craftsmanship.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now I get it. I thought you meant they had some kind of weighty, like the meaning of life kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think it has to be
Poignant.
it doesn't have to be poignant.
No,
it
I
just
agree.
has to be there has to be some.
You can have both too. Those are the best
You have
guys.
to
like
be. You
Attell.
have to have a little bit.
It's weird when a comic would force trying to be poignant when they'd be doing like just like racist street jokes and they'd be like, "But guys, we got to get along though. We got to
That's the whole thing.
we got to get together. You
Yeah,
know,
you can see
these Asian people. But guys, it's all
But as you know, I'm just joking. I think we should all get along, right? And so, like, some of those people are really likable people, and they can do
Yes.
the dose of divide and then a little bit of a hug. And because they're so likable, people are like, that hug was so good. I forgot that your entire act is just misogyny. And it's just
But you have that. I
just
see.
in the bones.
You do my show all the time at New York Comedy Club, and I see you with the notebook, the binder, and you're right before you go on, you're doing like just a couple of more checks. Okay, what's that new line?
I was thinking
And
the
then boom.
same thing. You seem so disciplined. I mean, I've talked to Ryan Hamilton about you because he had done some dates with you and Seinfeld together, and I was like, I'm a nerd about this, so I'm like, what's the routine? What do Jim and Jerry do show day? And he said, Jerry and I usually see a movie. Jim gets to the venue early and is doing his notes.
Yeah. I mean, those Jerry shows were great because there is a lot of value in having fun, constructive fun. Because when you do the shows with Jerry, you have breakfast, then you go to a movie, then you sometimes get lunch, then you go for a walk. And I'm like,
Ooh, I love it.
like when I travel, because, I like to think it's because I am a parent, but like I'm catching up on sleep and I'm writing. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes in New York and sometimes I'm dealing with phone calls. I mean, as we all know, it's like, you're like, oh, I got nothing to do that day. And then that day fills with stuff.
Every time.
But yeah, Jerry, I think, has a different approach. But yeah, I like to go to the theater.
But he's still writing, it seems, all the time, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's all regimented. He's got his workout schedule, his writing schedule.
Yeah. But he is also like, he doesn't. And, there's different theories on this where he doesn't record his set. And I've talked to other people. He doesn't record it.
Sanity.
And he.
So easy to
because he
record a
makes
set,
point,
too.
He makes a point of remembering.
Gee.
And I've heard this from other comics. It's like, well, you should remember that line. It should be that important. And some of it is like, maybe I've just destroyed as I sit around all these bottles of alcohol. But like,
your recall?
my short-term memory is not great.
Sure.
Yeah, but also,
sure.
like, it's not just the joke, it's the tone of the joke. And also, listening back to the joke is usually how I start writing. I have to listen to the set, and then I get in my comedic rhythm.
Goldman said the same thing.
Goldman's the one who used to talk to me about that all the time.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like Gary really has a process too. And it's because I have this 13-year-old who's really into basketball, and he's kind of starting. It's like all of it, like athletics and process of comedy. It's like you make it so you have the best opportunity in the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the process of writing allows you to be in the best position for when the joke arrives.
Yeah.
And the process of preparing for a game is so that when it is your time to take the shot, you're not nervous because you've been working on your form shooting anyway.
Yeah, I never get these comics who are just like, they just tell the same jokes over and over, or their career kind of stays the same, and they're like, what do I got to do? And I'm like, you got to write. And they're like, I write on stage.
Yeah, but the problem is the culture of a lot of these New York clubs, not to throw shade here, is to kill. And when the culture is to kill for...
Then it's like, why risk it?
Why?
But you can finesse. You can do a couple in the middle and make it work.
But that takes a muscle.
But you got to learn that muscle.
And sometimes you get on, and what if the audience is not great?
Well, there's that too.
These people are protecting their rent checks, and it gets to a point where then that becomes your life. Those spot pay spots, as opposed to like the grander goal of turning out material, which is when Mark and I were coming up, we watched guys like you or Louie or people turned over the jokes, and to us that was the move. But it is scary when you're new at the cellar or one of those clubs.
I get it.
And all of a sudden you're like, I got no spots? What the fuck? I've been killing. And then you're like, oh, this is arbitrary. This is meaningless. Like, you have to do it for you and not for the spots. You know?
I think there's a way to teeter both sides. Get the new out and still kill. That is a muscle.
But it's a skill, as Jim is saying.
But I think every guy's going to learn, just like you learn the skill of stand-up. That's part of stand-up. That's a tool on the belt, I think.
Yeah, I think we just get comfortable. You know,
yeah, that too. And writing is hard. It's hard to sit down and do the fucking work and have the discipline.
And also, what works, for 6 months, suddenly that becomes stale. So you have to mix it up, and you're like, oh, I go on the subway, and I always think of a line. It's like, no, that worked one time. Then you have to sit there and
this is my lucky car right here.
But there is something about. I do believe that. Environment. I mean, I'm such a nerd about this. I believe environment is a key contributor to your ability to write. So I believe a little bit of a home team helps. So like they know your point of view, they're rooting for you. That's why if you go to LA, it's like those LA comics in Largo. It's like Moses going on stage, right? Because they know him.
Yeah,
they know them beyond the name. They know the point of view. They've developed a relationship. But I also think that
could be a curse too.
The shape of the room, like I think the Cellar is beyond a doubt one of the best comedy clubs or the most important comedy clubs in America. But I think if people are walking by, that's not good.
I agree.
That's great for interactive. That's great for developing short jokes. That's great for certain things, but like a stage like even Eastville, New York Comedy Club, that's a great setting for a little bit of both. But I think like Gotham or the old Carolines was presentational. And the thing about presentational is that I believe stand-up is some of it, it's like it's a question of like the value of crowd work. Like I think it's definitely a skill. I think that it is also in some ways a waste of time.
Sure.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And
it's like sugar. It's like it's fun, but it's not. I need real food.
No nutritional value.
It's there kind of like, all right, for dessert, it's fine. At the end, it's fine. But you need a base. You need real food.
Yeah.
And the material is the real food.
Yeah, no one's quoting Chris Rock's crowd work from 10 years ago.
Right.
They're quoting the great bit.
Yeah.
And you're someone who clearly labors over chunks. I mean, like when I think of chunks, like you brought up Goldman. Goldman's great at chunks.
Great chunks.
And it's a skill to keep the ball in the air, so to speak. Like you're really good at that. I mean, that's when you're building bits like that, are you flooded with ideas, or is it like this is brick by brick? I had one thought on bacon, and now it's, or like how does that process work?
I mean, it's some of it's brick by brick. But it also is. That's the other balance. Is like how long do you hold on to a topic?
Yes,
right? Because and I debate this with Jerry because Jerry's like, "Why are you in a rush?" Which is a very intelligent. Because some of Jerry's longer jokes, the reason they're so long is because he had
10 years old.
He had this chapter with it. Then he put it away, and then he brings it back, and he can add 2 more sections to that chunk, which makes it so brilliant. What I learned in doing the bacon jokes is if you get long enough on a topic and you're not reintroducing the topic, you can throw in a B or a C level joke in the middle of this A chunk, and it gets longer and longer. So like the kind of like that's a cute observation can slide in. And I'm not talking about like it being filler, but it's there's a different purpose.
Well, points for keeping it going too is like I think the crowd's like, holy shit, he's still. I remember when I saw it on Letterman when you did that bit. And you go, you can't tell me Kevin Bacon's success has not like his name has.
You got that in there.
Like you got that. I was like, oh my god, he's just gonna keep going. Like it was a thing. I think we were watching with my family, and everyone was laughing. So they were like, holy shit, he's just still going.